Hi, y'all. It's Bridget Cutchall. Thank you for listening to Real Things Living. Today, my guest is Alisha Carlson. She's from Oregon and she's a non diet lifestyle coach. And I welcome her today. I'm so glad she's taken the time to speak to me. Alisha, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hey, Bridget. Thanks so much for having me on your show. Like Bridget said, I am out here in Oregon. I am a mom of two. My husband is in the military. And so when I'm not busy wrangling kids and kind of holding down the fort while he's gone, I really enjoy what I get to do in sort of the fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle space.
That's really cool. And you understand what it's like to be a military family, and that's a lot of unusual, I shouldn't say unusual, unnecessary stress sometimes
Yeah.
because you've got a lot of unexpected stuff. So how
Well,
old are your kids?
they are, so they both actually have birthdays coming up. So one is about to turn 9, and then the other one, my daughter, the older one, she'll be 12 in
Oh, wow.
April.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
going to hit the teen years soon.
I have been joking because I feel like in some ways she has been a teenager since she was about 18 months old and could talk.
Yes, girls are, I mean, there's pros and cons. I've heard girls are more challenging sometimes. The boys are more physically challenging.
Yeah.
I have two boys. So you mentioned your husband's in the military. Does he have to travel a lot and leave you alone?
Yes. So he was full-time military for a while. And then when we had our son, he decided to join the Guard instead. So I kind of tease because I almost feel like it's harder being in the Guard or being in like one of the support branches of the military than being either all the way in or all the way out,
Right.
because he has like the restrictions or the expectations of his civilian job, but then there's also the expectations of the military. And so and also I think kind of the biggest way that that impacts our family is that we don't live on base, or we're not in like a heavy military community. And so I feel like for my kids and even for myself, we maybe miss out on some of that support or just being around other people that kind of
Right.
get where we're at in life, or like what, how it is for families in the military.
Right. The support is very important. And my nephew just got out of the military, by the way, and he has 4 young kids.
Oh gosh. I'm
Can you
sure his wife
imagine?
is so happy.
Yeah, right. Well, they were up in Alaska, so their
Okay.
last assignment. So now they're back. They're in North Carolina now. But right, they are at my house for Christmas. I'm just like not used to having my sons are in college. You know what I'm saying? So it's a little different. And I forgot my house is not childproof anymore.
Yeah.
But it was fine. But I like the chaos a little bit sometimes. I'm sure you're used to that too, because you have a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old, and it's really kind of cool. So you
Yes.
mentioned to me earlier that you're doing like you love to help people with fitness classes. Is there
Mhm.
what got you into that? Is it help you get around other people? You know what I'm saying? The vibe.
Yeah. So when I'm not teaching fitness classes, I work from home. So I run my coaching practice from home. And so, yes, there is that part of like being with other people and, getting their energy. I'm an extrovert, so that definitely kind of recharges me.
Right.
But what I think it really is for me is that growing up the way that I did. So you had kind of mentioned some of the other stories that you have heard from other people that you've interviewed, and I could resonate with that. Like I grew up in a family where there was substance abuse, there was physical abuse between my parents. Things, financially were just kind of rocky. So I grew up in a pretty tumultuous setting
Right.
for a child. And, there was just like lots of different obstacles that sort of came. And for whatever reason, I just kind of always knew like I was going to do it different. I was going to be a different person than my parents, or, kind of break the chain, that sort of mindset. But I think that there was a lot of my life that I really didn't feel empowered. Like I didn't feel like I had a choice. You know, I was just in this situation, and you just had to figure out how to deal with it and how to get through it. And I am so grateful. I mean, I wasn't always grateful, but I am so grateful now for the way that I grew up, because it has given me so much in the way of being able to adapt and to be resilient and to just kind of push through some really tough
Right.
things. So even though I'm trying to give my children a different life, I see now how much good came out of some really bad situations. And so I'm grateful for that. So fast forward, like how that kind of ties into fitness, for me, really kind of learning how to, I don't want to use the word control my body, because I think that that can be a really negative experience for people. But learning how to work with my body, let's say, in the realm of fitness. Like I always grew up hating running and telling myself, you're not a runner. You know, I'm not a runner. I'm not a runner. I hate running. And then that ended up being sort of my personal gateway into the health and fitness, like into kind of getting myself in shape,
Right.
you know, starting to take care of myself. And then that sort of morphed into more of like weight training, resistance training, did some bodybuilding and things of that nature. And so for me, fitness was kind of really where maybe I feel like I came into some of my power a little bit.
Right. It empowered you, right? To give
Mm-hmm.
you some
And so,
confidence.
yes. And so I love being able to pay that forward and hopefully share that with other people.
I think that is awesome, because people need role models like that. So, you know, saying our mentors, and I'm not what the
Mm-hmm.
proper term is, but you had mentioned too that a lot of your, I should not call them clients, but people you work with are like college students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So right now in this season of my work, I have a handful of private practice clients that I work with kind of in a one-on-one setting. But then I spend some of my time during the week teaching fitness classes at a local university. And that terrified me at first, because I just was like, I don't even know if I'd be able to relate to these students. Are they going to think I'm so stupid? You know, all this kind
Right.
of stuff. But it's been so fulfilling. And particularly with the female students, I've been able to connect with them on body image issues, on creating goals for their health and their fitness and their well-being for reasons outside of weight loss or fat loss, or, you know, I'm doing this so that I can manipulate and change my body, because I've been there. Like it is so frustrating to try to do all of the things and not get the results.
Right.
And I think if we are just totally focused on the results and that end game, we miss 99% of the journey.
That's
And
a
that
good point.
1%, we're not even promised, right? Like there's no
Right.
guarantee that you're even ever going to be able to get to that particular goal.
I think that's a very good point. It's really about the steps, right? And to get there, and having a, I don't know, and you also have to be open to changing too. I've learned that
Mm-hmm.
as well. Like that's one thing we have in common. I was a big runner too, and it drove me insane when I couldn't run for a while. Um, when I had to do cancer treatment, because you can't be doing that. But it helps me being outside. And I
Yeah.
like, I like what you're doing the fitness thing. And is there like a specific, other than running, what other thing do you like to do best? So you said, is it lifting weights or?
Yes. So I've been kind of on this big journey. You know, I really started and was really heavy with the running, and I did that. I, you know, made some personal milestones, accomplished things that I didn't think I would ever do. And then I kind of transitioned and went more into the weight training, the bodybuilding world.
Right.
Again, kind of pushing myself. Like as you listen, you'll be like, oh, there's a common theme here. So, I pushed myself in this other area that I didn't ever think that it would be possible for me. And then backed out of the bodybuilding because raising two kids, I didn't want to give my son this impression or this idea that there was only one right way for a woman to look.
Right.
And I also didn't want to give my daughter that sense as well of like, this is what health and fitness looks like, or, you know, this is whatever. So I backed out of there. Plus I started noticing some really unhealthy things for myself in that world. And now I take a little bit more of a varied and balanced approach. It's kind of the same way that I coach nutrition, right? Like having treat foods, having those fun foods, have a place in your diet, just like the vegetables, just like the fruit. But obviously if we only ate cookies or if we only ate treat foods, we know that we would be missing out on other things. Just like if we only ate apples, even though apples are good for us, we would be missing out on some other experiences, some other nutrients. So I'm a big fan of variety. I'm a big fan of doing things that you enjoy to do. So that's really is kind of where I've landed. So I run a little bit and then I train weights a little bit. And then some of the classes that I teach, are instructor led. So I'm, you know, doing some Pilates and some other things like that. So I think variety is good. So, you know, finding a handful of things that you enjoy doing, that you look forward to doing, you know,
it's good for your brain too.
The key.
Is that right?
Yes.
I think it's good for your brain. It makes you think a little bit. Otherwise, if you're doing the same thing over and over and over, you're not thinking. You could get it. I think you can get an injury.
Yes.
Is that the right word? But yeah, I'm one of those people. I was a serious runner, but then we ignore our upper body. You know,
Mm-hmm.
We know what we're supposed to do, but we still ignore it. And as I've aged, you know, okay, you know, so now I lift weights, but I don't do heavy weights just because
Yeah.
I don't want to hurt myself.
Yeah.
I do lighter weights. So I think it's cool that you're being a good role model for others, you know, younger people and your children. And do you do a lot of stuff with your husband? Does he get involved with what you do? Obviously he supports what you're doing, which I think is great.
Yeah, he fully supports it. For the most part, he kind of lets this be my thing.
Right.
And he's happy to like step up and help with certain things that I need. But he's definitely not the extrovert. So he would prefer to not be in front of a lot of people doing a lot of things.
Right.
But he is definitely kind of the behind the scenes support. You know, and I think one of the biggest ways that he helps is just by giving me the freedom and the opportunity to really get out there and kind of chase the dreams that have been put into my heart.
I think that's really great. Having the support is what you need too. Helps along with the confidence to have that your husband helping a lot. So since you have younger kids, have they shown any interest in any kind of sport yet? I was just curious because I have two boys and they were in like everything and I survived. So I was just wondering if your children are into that. They're at that age where they're going to start doing it.
Yes. So our daughter, she tends to kind of find something that she likes and then she wants to just sort of stick with it. So her first experience with any sort of an activity, she actually did Irish dance. She started when she was about 4.5. And she did that for about 4 or 5 years, but that was kind of year round. So it's interesting. And this is kind of a conversation that my husband and I sort of keep coming back to. So my formal education is exercise science, nutrition, behavior change, and things like that. And so I've always really kind of hesitated having either of the kids specialize too soon, right? So just doing one activity year round, I wasn't a huge fan of because of the potential for overuse injury, burnout, those kinds of things. So with the dance, she did that kind of continually, competitively for almost 5 years. And she did get burned out. She kind of reached this point where she was over it. And then she sort of dabbled in some basketball. And then now she's really found that she likes soccer. So she's kind of like has pushed herself into that. So I noticed with her, she is a little bit more apt to kind of find something that she likes. And then she wants to go. Yes. My son tends to be a little bit more, let's just try some different things. Like he did karate for about 1.5 years. And then he did soccer for a couple different seasons. And then this year it was trying flag football, and then baseball's just getting ready to start. So he's definitely a little bit more adventurous, I think. And it's interesting, you know, as I'm saying this, looking at their personalities and being like, oh yeah, that seems very much in line with how she kind of operates in the rest of the world,
Right.
versus how he does. So it's interesting
Right.
to notice those things.
I think it's good that they're doing something physical. You know, I shouldn't say
Mm-hmm.
physical, but active. That's a better word.
Yes.
To
Yeah.
me, is learning that as a habit, you know, to do something physical will help them or being active in the future. My older son and my younger son, they're a little bit, like you're saying, they were different as well. And I got them into running when they were really little, and track, because I was a huge runner, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, why did I do this? But they enjoyed it, but then they didn't like the long track meets, right? So then that's when they got into other things. But you have to really like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's very hard on your body. But my older son ended up doing it in high school too. But that he's like, okay, that's enough when you graduate, because it can lead to burnout. It's hard on your body.
Yeah.
You have to enjoy it. And I
Mm-hmm.
got into cross country by accident, kind of thing, you know, and I like that better. But anyway, I really, again, appreciate what you're telling us. And you and I have a lot in common, actually, right? You are actually applying your health coach training a lot more than me. I'm more into the writing, you know what I'm saying? The only kind of stuff I've gotten more involved in is like the corporate aspect, because I've seen it, how burnt out people are,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I think that's good that you're going to start with the college students to learn how to manage their time a little bit better. I think you had mentioned helping them with that,
Yeah.
because it is um, crazy sometimes. People sit so much, you
Mm-hmm.
know, in an office. I'm guilty, right? But like right now, I'm talking to you, I'm standing up. I got a standing desk because it's just, I don't know. We just get in these little habits, even though we know better, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned that too. You just got to change it up. And so, do you ever considered getting involved in the corporate aspect, or or just going to stick with college? I'm just curious.
I am pretty open. I really, like I said, I'm enjoying the working with the college students. I even am doing some work with some local high school students at kind of more of an alternative high school. So these students in particular are facing some additional adversity in their life,
Right.
whether, I mean, they might be raising themselves, they might be kind of raising their parents. Some of the students themselves are using substances, or in situations where there's,
I think
drug and alcohol abuse.
I think what you're doing is going to have a bigger impact, because you're going to have an influence on the younger people, whereas someone in a business environment, they're more, I don't know, I should say stuck in their ways. But I like the idea of working with the younger people, because you can,
Yeah.
I mean, you're just being an example for them, and a good
Yeah.
example, and they'll figure it out, right? They have to make
Yeah.
a choice if they're going to do it. Whereas usually the corporate stuff, I think some people complain that it's coming from the top down, right? But I didn't mind doing it. You know, I guess because I have a corporate background, that's why I played in it. I shouldn't say play, but it's a lot of, it's a lot of work, as you know. But I think you get more of the better feedback from the younger students, and they probably need that. Is that better or not? You get
Yes,
feedback from them?
although this week was a little bit challenging with my high school students. I was like, I was feeling so defeated, so discouraged. But actually, I ended up getting an email from one of the other teachers there, who's kind of is my liaison with the school. And, it was just what I needed to kind of be like, okay, like, you're not totally wasting your time there. There is going to be some fruit that comes
That's
from
good.
this down the road. So yes, like, I love it. And part of the reason I am drawn a little bit towards working with the younger crowd and, less kind of professional, I think is partially my age, and just kind of the way that I operate, the way that I see the world. And I really am passionate about creating a movement, moving away from, the weight loss and that being
Yeah,
like such a heavy focus as an indicator of health, and more just like, okay, let's just think about how are you treating your body, right? Because both things, like not being active, not caring what you eat, we know doesn't lead to good, healthy outcomes, but neither does being over obsessive and over worried about what you eat and your body and
correct.
exercise. So, let's find kind of that happy medium where we're teaching people the tools and the strategies and the skills, but we're also equipping them, I think, to take a more mindful and intuitive approach to their health, rather than always seeking outside information and relying on another expert to tell them. It's like, you actually know way more about your body than you think that you do,
Correct.
and you know a whole lot more about what you need than what I or any other expert
Right.
could ever tell you. So I want to teach the tools, I want to teach the strategies, and I want to teach you how to use it. So and really, seeing people kind of step up and own that part of their life.
I think too, you'd mentioned there's a lot of conflicting information out there, and that makes people feel uncomfortable. And so
Mm-hmm.
they make an excuse to not do anything then. So I think coaching, like you're saying, what you're doing intuitively is very helpful, and
Mm-hmm.
that it's okay, right? It's
Yeah.
really what I think you're doing. I found, that I'm just kind of making a joke. When I was younger, my mother called me the rabbit because I always wanted to eat vegetables. That's because my body probably needed it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And growing up in the South, there's a lot of fried food around, and I didn't really want it. You know what I'm saying? And but that, so I listened to, my mother's like, okay, so I would eat more and I still do, but our bodies are different, innately
Mm-hmm.
different, and we have to have certain things. Like I can't handle a lot of caffeine.
Yeah.
You know, some people, which bugs the heck out of me. A lot of younger people are really guzzling caffeine, which that I don't say anything to them, but I'm like, ugh, I would be like running a marathon, right? But
And
I
then
listen.
crashing at the end.
Correct. I would crash and hurt myself because I know it's, I did when I was younger. Of course I did. I tried that, but I knew it wasn't right. Right. So I think it's a good thing to focus on listening to your body. I think that's really great what you're doing.
The
And that,
problem is with that, though, is that we don't know how to listen to our
you're
bodies
right.
anymore,
You can coach
because
them.
there's too much information, because we've
Yes.
kind of been led to think that we need to look to doctors or we need to look to other people. And I'm not saying that doctors or other experts don't have a role. I think the model in and of itself is kind of flawed, that I'm seeking something else to tell me how many calories I need to eat, how, all of this, all of this, all of that. And so, yes, listen to your body, but if you just say that to somebody, they probably don't know what that
They don't
even
know what it
feels
means.
like.
Right. You got to coach them to guide them, right? Is that what it is?
Or yeah, or it's that idea of like, well, if I just listen to my body, I would eat pizza all day. And it's like, well,
I need a lot of chocolate.
yeah, like maybe you would, but I think that's where the mindfulness piece comes in, right? Like you
Right.
might feel like, oh, I just would eat carbs all day or cake or cookies. And maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. But, again, that's where it's like, okay, but also kind of being a grown up and making decisions that are going to honor you down the road, right? And
Right.
sometimes that is having the cookies, sometimes that is having the cake and not beating yourself up over it.
And
But
I think it's okay too to, my thing about food is water and vegetables. That I like the colors, you know what I'm saying? I try to mix up that. And it's okay to eat bread. And it's
yeah,
okay to, that's just me. And,
yeah,
but everybody else is some people, it's kind of not as prevalent as people think it is with the celiac disease, right?
mm-hmm.
So people are freaking out and wanting everything gluten. That's what I'm saying. That's so conflicting
Yeah,
information out there. And sometimes you need doctor input. And that's kind of how, I found out that I mentioned earlier when we talked before the call, can't have dairy.
Mm-hmm.
and I married a guy from Wisconsin. So I eat a lot of dairy. But the casein protein issue for me, it's like your body doesn't digest it until like 4 hours
Yeah.
later. So it's not an immediate reaction. But I didn't know this until I got a doctor involved. All these weird things happening. That's kind of when I go to the doctor. I like, okay, something's not right. And then he did all these tests and they're like, you shouldn't have dairy. And I
You're
stopped
like,
eating dairy.
okay.
I stopped eating dairy. It was hard to get off of dairy. No, but then it felt so much better. So it's things like
Mm-hmm.
that. Some people can't afford to go to the doctor. So
Mm-hmm.
there are some things out there that are, you probably heard that recommended to go elimination kind of thing, try to go through
Yeah.
certain things. But that would, to me, I don't know how accurate that is, you know.
I think that nutrition and food and eating is very simple, but yet there's also a lot of different moving parts that kind of make it a little bit more of a complex
Right,
issue.
right,
And I think one of the biggest disservices that I see a lot of people doing in the health and wellness and fitness, whatever space you want to call that, is that we're not looking at the whole person when we're prescribing or suggesting a particular diet, or we're
right.
suggesting these, certain kinds of things. And so if I were to tell somebody, to do the elimination diet, or to do the keto diet, or whatever diet, or eat this meal plan, and I have no awareness of potential
Side effect, right?
well, or even just like the mental health stuff that could be around body image or
Right,
precursors to an eating disorder or something.
right,
And
right.
I'm telling them to do this in the name of health. I just think, and obviously, like, we have to stay in our lane, we have to stay within our scope, but I think that's where we're kind of doing people a disservice by just saying, just do this and you'll get the results. And that's that.
Right, and I find that it creates a lot of distrust too with
Mhm,
potential customers or whatever.
mhm,
There's a lot of, I've had people tell me that over the last few years there has been less trust in health and wellness. So I think
mhm,
being authentic, what you're doing, I think is really needed.
mhm.
And I think what you're doing, you're sharing your knowledge and your time and patience with these students. And I understand high schoolers are probably a little harder. I did at one point did help some athletes. That's why it really bugged the heck out of me when they were like drinking lots of caffeine by someone was a hockey player. I'm like, I didn't say anything to him, but they were like crashing, like
Yeah.
too much caffeine. And hockey is like sprinting.
Mhm.
It's
On
not.
ice.
It's sprinting, and so I suggested. I'm like, why don't you guys the next game drink water, and then drink your Powerade or whatever after the game and see how you feel. And it actually helped them. They
Yeah.
were like pumping up on that. It was like, what's that 5 hour stuff? Oh, that's
Oh yeah, those little shots
yes.
of it. Yes.
But they don't realize. But I was just trying to make suggestions. Like you're saying, making a suggestion, try this or that, and a lot of it could affect their mental
Mhm.
wellness and their body image, right? Is that the right? Am I saying it correctly? And I
Yeah.
really think what you're doing is really, really good. And I'm so glad you reached. We were able to connect on. Forgot which platform we were on, because I'm in Georgia and you're in Oregon. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
But I think it's a really, really, really great what you're doing, and I really appreciate your time. And what we're going to do now is, can you tell people where they can find you online? You have like a website you can share?
Yes. So I'll make sure that you have the links to put
Okay.
up in the show notes or whatever. But it's just AlishaCarlson.com, ALISHA Carlson with an O
Right.
.com. And then I'm at Alisha Carlson _ on Instagram, or you can find me on Facebook, Alisha Carlson.
This has been awesome, and I really appreciate it, Alicia, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you,
Thanks so
guys.
much, Bridget.
Thanks for listening, everybody.